Everyone that has ever traveled has used some type of GPS app to get to their destination.
Are we there yet?
You little...
Oh, I think we're there.
Now, some people use Google Maps, others use an application called Waze. It's all up to you and your personal preference. But when you type in that address into your GPS, you want to know how long it's going to take you to get to your destination. And that's the distance. And the distance is calculated in miles. But on the piano or keyboard, we calculate distance using something called half steps and whole steps. Do you like what you see on this channel? Do you want to help us to grow? Then do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any more of the great content we got coming your way. Now, I'm not talking about a dance move like, or I'm talking about the movement between one note to another. Now, we're talking about two terms here, half steps and whole steps. Now, what's a half step? A half step is from one note to another with no note in between. And a whole step always skips a key with one note in between. Now, these steps are not just one directional, meaning you can go up the piano using half steps and whole steps. You can also go down the piano using half steps and whole steps. Think about it. Have you ever got on an elevator that went up and just never came back down?
Hello?
I don't wish that on no one, but that's another way to think about it. So if your finger is the elevator, each key on the piano can be looked at as a floor to go up or down to. And it doesn't matter if the key is black or white.
It don't matter if you're black or white.
They're all half steps and whole steps, and the starting point in which you start to count half steps and whole steps all depends on the floor that the elevator starts on. Now, I might have just lost some of y'all, but let's check it out. Let's start with half steps. So if you go up one half step, let's say we start on C, right? And we go up one half step, it's the same thing as going up to the very next floor.
Hello? Hello?
So if we go up one, now we're on D flat. That's the very next floor up. We didn't skip, right? And then you can also go down a half step too as well. Remember, so if we start on D flat and go down a half step, now we're going down to C. And remember,
It don't matter if you're black or white.
which means you can start on a white floor or a white key and go up to the very next floor, or go down to the very next floor, or you can start on the black key and go up or down to the very next floor. Now let's talk about whole steps. If you go up a whole step, it's the same thing as getting on the elevator and going from the first floor to the third floor. Which means you skipped a floor or you skipped a key. For example, if we were to start on C, right, and go up one whole step, that would mean we would skip one floor, right? And that floor is this black key or black floor, which is D flat. So skip that and go to the very next floor after that. Now we're on D. So from C to D, we have one note in between. Remember, a whole step always skips a key. That is one whole step. Now, let's start on the black note or black floor, and let's go down a whole step, right? So let's start from E flat and go down one whole step. So that would mean we would skip a floor.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
So in this case, the very next floor is a white floor, which is D. We would skip that and then go to the next floor after that. So we would go from E flat, skip to D, and now we're on D flat. So from E flat down to D flat, that equals one whole step. So now, let's test you out to see if you really got this. What is the distance from C to F in half steps? So in other words, how many floors do you have to go up to get to F if you start on C? So the answer is 5 half steps. Now, how do we get that? So if we look at the keyboard and we start on C, we have to go up to the very next floor and count all the way to F. So if we start on C and we go up one floor, that's 1, then up another, 2, then up another, 3, 4. And now we're on the last floor, which is F. So we just went up. Don't count the C. Start counting once you go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 half steps. Now let's try that with the black keys, but this time we're gonna do whole steps. What is the distance from G flat to C in whole steps? So the answer is 3 whole steps. Now, how do we get that? Let's check out the keyboard and figure it out. So if we start on G flat and we have to go to C, how many whole steps is that? So let's start on G flat and go up 1 whole step. That means we skip a note. So that's 1 whole step. Now we have to skip another note to go up another whole step. So we're gonna skip the A, this white key right here. That's 2 whole steps. Now we gotta go to C. So that means we skip this note, which is B. That's 3 whole steps. So that's how we got 3 whole steps. Now, this is another thing to consider. Depending on how far apart the notes are, you can measure the distance using all half steps. You can use all whole steps. And in some cases, you have to use a combination of both half steps and whole steps. So that's the same thing like if someone is 6 feet tall, you can also say that they're 72 inches, right? Now we do this all the time when it comes down to counting the age of an infant. If your baby is 1 year old, why you gotta say 12 months? Huh? How old is your baby? 52 weeks? Come on, man. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. You have options when it comes down to counting the distance between 2 notes. You can either use all half steps, you could use all whole steps, or in some cases, you can use a combination of both. Now we use half steps and whole steps all the time when it comes down to formulating scales, which we're gonna talk about on the next lesson, also forming chords, and so much more. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this helps you to understand how to measure the distance between notes. There's so much more coming your way, so make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. Also, like the video. There's so much more to come. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. This is Jonathan Powell, JP, signing out. Until next time, remember, if you can hear it, you can play it.